Hey guys, I'm the Crazy Dane, and ever since the patch hit, I've been playing quite a lot of DMR in Battlefield 4 because they have gotten an overall buff, all of them. They have increased the muzzle velocity, so they are easier to use, and the two DMRs that I've been playing with the most is the M39, which was my favorite in Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2, where my go-to gun was more or less just the M39 EMR. And the other gun that I've been using quite a lot since the patch was the MK11 mod. I think I favor the MK11 because it's overall easier to use and it still does the same damage and it's easier to use, and the muzzle velocity is more or less the same on both of the guns. And even though I love the way that the M39 looks and the way that it handles, I still do a lot better with the MK11. But I still love playing with it, and it took me back to some of the old days in Bad Company 2 when I was just playing with the M39 all of the time. I loved the tap fire weapons, but they didn't seem to have a lot of value in a firefight against one with an assault rifle or even a PDW, because it didn't have high enough rate of fire and didn't do enough damage. But ever since the patch where the damage have more or less been reduced on overall most of the weapons, they haven't really changed the damage on the DMRs, so they are actually worth using in a firefight because they can still do a 3-shot kill or 2-shot kill if you're able to sneak a headshot in there. So the way that I've been using the DMRs is more or less with a silencer and a optic sight. In the beginning I did not have my favorite, the HD33, so I had to use the holographic sight because it feels kind of like the HD33, but I didn't have the Coyote sight, so I couldn't use that, which was my old favorite sight. And my battle tactic was more or less to stay off the minimap and then try to catch people off guard and try to stay rather close. I tend to stay in close to medium range because at longer ranges I did lose quite a lot of fights against snipers, but sometimes I was able to kill them because I did not have a scope that produced a scope glint, so they could not locate me, and that way I was able to sometimes kill snipers at long ranges. The downsides to having a silencer is of course the reduced muzzle velocity, even though that the patch increased the muzzle velocity even when suppressed. So of course it was sometimes difficult to hit moving targets, but I did manage to kill moving targets, even people parachuting in at long ranges. Now, the biggest downside to the DMR is that you have to be really accurate with your shots. You can really not afford to miss a shot or two, especially if they have seen you. So that's more or less the basic reason why I chose a suppressor, because I can get the drop on people and they won't notice until they are dead and it's too late for them to do anything about it. So that's more or less the way that I recommend using the DMRs, because you can 3-shot people. So if you're really conservative with your ammo and you're accurate with your shots, then you can take out quite a few people before anyone notices that there's something wrong. And I do think that it adds quite a cool factor to use the silencer, and I feel like a silent assassin, and I'm able to move around more or less the way that I want to and kill people, even though I have to prioritize my targets correctly so that I do not take out the first person that I see, because if there's more people coming, then I've given away my position and they know that I'm there, so I'll be dead within seconds more or less, because I cannot compete with the high rate of fire weapons up close. That battle I will lose. So of course it does take some time to get used to the DMR, and even though that it's quite easy to take out people, you still have to be conservative with your ammo, and you have to take targets that are easy and away from the pack of enemies so that you do not alert other enemies in the area and notify them of your position. So most of the time I'll actually be hiding in a bush because I noticed a guy run past and I wanted to make sure that there's no other enemies coming towards me from the same direction, and if there is I can take the one from behind, because if I take the one in front, the one behind him are going to know that he's getting shot at and they'll more or less be able to figure out where I'm at. So if I take the one furthest back, I'm able to take them out one by one without notifying the ones in the front. Now, I do recommend trying out the 4 times optic, because ever since the patch hit and there was a fix to the visual recoil, you'll be amazed how well you're actually going to do with the 4 times optic at medium to long range, because it's way easier to hit targets, and it's more or less just a huge advantage over your enemy, because a lot of people have been running around with the high rate of fire weapons and they are not as precise as the DMR at longer ranges, so you'll actually have the upper hand. So in close quarters I do recommend a high rate of fire weapon. But to be honest, the biggest and best change I like about DMRs is the sound being changed. So you don't have to listen to that annoying sound all of the time when people with DMRs are shooting at you. So that is just music to my ears now. It's not as bad as before, even though you'll still notice when you have a person shooting at you with a DMR, but it's not as bad as before. So overall, I'm loving the DMRs now, and I'll definitely tap that, if you know what I mean. Anyway, have you been using the DMRs a lot more now since the patch, or have you been using them less? Have you noticed people using them a lot more since the patch, or what are your take on the DMRs in general? Do you like them? Do you love them? Are they a part of your everyday loadout? And what tactics do you use, and what attachment do you use for the gun? I'd really love to know, and leave a comment below with your opinion and how you use them, if you do use them, because not everyone loves them. I guess it's a love-hate relationship. And that's all I have for this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you want to see more of my content on Battlefield 4 or games in general. And if that's the case, you can check out my channel and you can subscribe. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.